In the heart of a buzzing city where luxury dripped from every corner and high heels echoed through marble halls, there was one man every woman wanted to meet. CEO Liu Yixin. Handsome, rich, and always dressed in clean-cut designer suits, Liu Yixin wasn't just the most eligible bachelor in town. He was the prize everyone was chasing. From polished ladies at social galas to poised heiresses at business dinners, he'd seen it all. And quite frankly, he was tired of the act. Perfect hair, perfect nails, perfect smiles, but not a trace of honesty in sight. Liu Yixin had dated the most elite women of the city. They knew which wine paired with what dish, how to laugh without creasing their makeup, and how to flatter a man without meaning a word. For a while, it was entertaining. Now, it bored him. Every conversation felt rehearsed. Every compliment felt empty, and every relationship came with a hidden price tag. He didn't want another showpiece beside him. He wanted something real. But in his world of glitz and deception, where could he find that? One chilly afternoon, while waiting for his assistant to pick up a custom tie at a high-end boutique, Liu Yixin stepped inside the store himself. It was one of those glossy places with velvet curtains and soft lighting, the kind of place where even the air smelled expensive. He hadn't meant to stay long until he saw her. She was standing awkwardly near the back, out of place in every way, wearing a faded floral dress and a well-worn pair of canvas shoes. She looked like someone who had walked into the wrong world by mistake. Her braid was loose. Her hands clutched the strap of a simple cloth bag, and her eyes, wide and full of wonder, scanned the room like she was seeing treasure for the first time. At first, Liu Yixin thought she was lost. Maybe someone's assistant. Maybe a tourist who had wandered in. But then, she reached out and touched a silk scarf, letting the fabric slip through her fingers, like she was memorizing the feel of it. There was something so unfiltered in that moment, so innocent and raw, that Liu Yixin found himself staring. He couldn't look away. There were no diamonds on her neck, no brand logos on her clothes, and yet, there was something radiant about her, something he hadn't seen in a long time. Sincerity. The shop assistants, however, weren't nearly as captivated. They had already sniffed the air and decided she didn't belong. One of them approached with that sharp politeness reserved for people they'd rather not deal with. "Miss, I believe the market is across the street," she said, with a tight smile, clearly trying to move the girl out. But the girl didn't flinch. She simply smiled, warm and unfazed. "I'm not here to buy," she said cheerfully. "I'm just looking. Everything here is so pretty." The assistant's smile thinned. "This isn't a place for looking, miss. It's for purchasing." Liu Yixin, still watching from behind a display shelf, felt a spark of irritation rise. He took a step forward, his presence instantly commanding. The assistants froze. The girl turned, and their eyes met for the first time. It was like time paused for half a second. He expected her to recognize him, maybe gasp or fawn like most women did, but she just blinked, tilted her head, and asked, "Are you the store owner?" That caught him off guard. A small laugh escaped him. "No, just passing by," she nodded thoughtfully. "Well, you're dressed like you belong here." "I suppose I do," he replied, amused. She didn't look at him with admiration or calculation, just curiosity, like she was trying to figure him out, not for what he had, but who he was. And for Liu Yixin, that was new and dangerously refreshing. "I'm Su Nian," she said, holding out a hand. "From Hongliu Village." He took her hand. It was small, rough from labor, and warm. He introduced himself only as Yixin. No title, no surname, and surprisingly, it felt nice. They talked for a while, right there in the store. Her telling stories about raising chickens and growing vegetables. Him listening more intently than he'd ever listened to a boardroom pitch. She spoke of sunshine, monsoon rains, and how city tomatoes didn't taste like real ones. He found himself smiling more than he had in weeks. Eventually, Sunian waved goodbye and walked out, leaving nothing behind but a lingering scent of wildflowers and the feeling that something important had just happened. Liu Yichen stood still for a moment, his phone forgotten, his assistant nowhere in sight. In a world built on appearances, she had shown up like a breeze from another life, humble, honest, and completely unexpected. What he didn't know then was that Sunian's arrival in his life was no accident, and that her past carried secrets deeper than the rivers she grew up beside. Because sometimes, the most innocent smile hides the most complicated truth. And in just a few days, Liu Yichen would find himself at the center of a whirlwind that not even he, the great CEO, could control. But it all started with that one moment in the store. And Sunian, the country girl with dirt still under her nails, had no idea that she had just caught the eye of the city's most powerful man. What happens when a guarded billionaire falls for someone who doesn't even know how to pretend? Or worse, what if the girl isn't as simple as she seems? For days after that brief encounter, Liu Yichen couldn't stop thinking about her. It was strange. A man who had meetings lined up with foreign investors and dinners with diplomats was now distracted by a girl who had never even stepped into a 5-star hotel. He had tried to go on with his life, he really had. But Sunian's smile, her simple way of speaking, and the way she looked at the world, like everything was new and beautiful, stuck with him like a sweet echo he couldn't escape. Asked his assistant to find out more, casually at first. "The girl from the boutique," he said one morning while sipping coffee. "Just curious. Her name was Sunian, from some village. See what you can find." What he didn't expect was how little information there actually was. No social media, no LinkedIn, no university records. Just a mention in an old article about a small rural school where she had once volunteered to teach children. Unpaid, the mystery only deepened his curiosity. Meanwhile, Sunian had returned to her simple routine. She stayed in a modest rented room with thin walls, worked part-time at a flower shop, and sent most of her savings back to her grandmother in the village. City life overwhelmed her, but she kept going because she had a dream, one that no one in the city would ever understand. Not yet. She never expected to see Liu Yichen again, but fate had other plans. One rainy afternoon, she walked into a small cafe near the university campus, looking for shelter and a cheap cup of tea, and there he was, sitting by the window, laptops open, reading something on the screen with intense focus. For a second, she hesitated, but then she walked over and gave him a shy wave. "You again," he said, surprised and visibly pleased. "You're always in fancy places," she smiled. "You're always showing up where I least expect." They talked again, this time longer. She told him about her grandmother's health, her love for farming, and her dream of opening a village school with modern books and solar lights. He told her very little about himself, only that he worked in business and that his days were usually too serious for his liking. He didn't tell her he was the CEO of one of the largest tech companies in Asia. She didn't ask, she didn't care, but not everyone around them was as indifferent. Unbeknownst to Sunian, one of Liu Yichen's longtime business rivals had started noticing his unusual behavior. Missed meetings, changed moods, sudden visits to places far below his usual class. Rumors began to spread. One rumor reached the ears of Chao Yue, Lu Yichen's former fiancée and the daughter of a powerful real estate magnate. Elegant, clever, and used to getting what she wanted, Yue wasn't about to let some unknown village girl ruin her chances of becoming Mrs. Lu. She started digging into Sun Yan's life, searching for any flaw she could expose, and she found something, or at least, she thought she did. One evening, Sun Yan was invited to a charity dinner by a woman she had met at the flower shop. She hesitated, but agreed, borrowing a simple dress and tying her hair in a neat bun. She didn't know it was a setup. She didn't know Yue would be there, waiting. The moment Sun Yan stepped in, whispers began. People looked her up and down, some with curiosity, some with judgment. She tried to stay calm, telling herself she belonged as much as anyone else. Then, Yue approached her, all sweet smiles and venom behind the eyes. "You must be the girl from the countryside," she said loudly enough for others to hear. "It's brave of you to come here. I suppose in your village, this must feel like a palace." Sun Yan, stunned but composed, replied softly, "A palace is only beautiful when the people inside are kind." The guests went silent for a moment. Someone even laughed, but Yue's smile didn't waver. Later that night, Lu Yichen arrived at the event. He had no idea Sun Yan would be there. The second he saw her, standing awkwardly near the dessert table, clearly shaken, he rushed to her side. "Who brought you here?" he asked gently. I think it was a mistake," she said, eyes lowering. Yichen turned, instantly realizing what had happened. His expression darkened. For the first time, Sun Yan saw a flash of the powerful man behind the easy smiles. But instead of lashing out, he took her hand and walked her out of the hall, past the whispers and eyes, past Yue's frozen smile. That night, he told her the truth. Who he was, what he owned, what the world expected of him. Sun Yan didn't run. She didn't beg. She simply looked at him, confused and quiet. "Why would someone like you want to spend time with someone like me?" she asked. "Because I've had everything," he replied. "And none of it made me feel the way I do when I'm with you." But just as their story seemed ready to bloom, new problems rose. Lu Yichen's board of directors began pushing back, warning him that a relationship like this would damage the company's image. Investors questioned his judgment. One tabloid caught a blurry photo of him and Sun Yan walking together at night. Pressure mounted. Then came the final blow. Sun Yan received a letter from her village. Her grandmother had fallen seriously ill. She needed to go home. But if she left now, with everything spiraling, she might never return to the city, and Lu Yichen might not be there if she did. She stood at the edge of the platform at the train station, heart heavy, eyes full. Behind her, Lu Yichen's black car sped through traffic, trying to reach her in time. But would he make it? And even if he did, could love survive the gap between two different worlds? The real test of their hearts was only beginning. The train's whistle echoed through the station, long and sharp, cutting through the cold air. Sun Yan stood still on the platform, her fingers tightening around the train ticket in her hand. Her eyes searched the crowd one last time. She didn't know what exactly she was hoping for. Maybe some miracle, a sign, a reason to stay, but nothing came. And so, with her heart heavier than her small suitcase, she stepped toward the train. Just then, a voice called out, "Nayan!" She turned. Lu Yichen was running, breathless, rain soaking through his shirt. People stopped to look, but he didn't care. He had never run for anyone in his life, not even for himself. But here he was, chasing a girl who came from rice fields and dusty roads. the only girl who had ever made him feel real. "I thought I was too late," he panted as he reached her. "You almost were," she whispered, eyes full of tears. Then, "Don't go," he said, stepping closer. "We'll go together. I'll take care of your grandmother. I'll build a clinic in your village if I have to. Just don't leave me behind." Su Nian looked at him, her heart torn. "This isn't your world. You belong with people like you. Elegant, powerful, city-born. And where I belong," he said softly, brushing a wet strand of hair from her face, "is with the one person who sees me for more than my title." She broke into a soft cry and dropped her bag. He held her in his arms as the train behind them began to move, slowly pulling away from the platform, leaving behind the version of her life she had been prepared to go back to. In the days that followed, things moved fast. True to his word, Liu Yichen visited her village with her. He met her grandmother, brought along a team of doctors, and arranged for proper treatment. The old woman smiled weakly and told Su Nian, "He has kind eyes. He's not like the others." You were right to wait. The villagers stared in disbelief as luxury cars parked near their humble homes. But what surprised them more was how humble Liu Yichen was. He sat on straw mats, ate simple food, and laughed with the children. People began to respect him, not for his money, but for his heart. Back in the city, the media caught on. At first, headlines mocked him. CEO dating a village girl? Scandal or romance? But public opinion shifted when videos of him helping rebuild a local school went viral. People were touched. Investors were impressed by how grounded he remained under pressure. Even the board softened when they realized the public admired him more now than ever before. And Qiao Yuwei, she tried once more to win him back, hosting an exclusive gala and inviting him with an elegant invitation. But Liu Yichen didn't show up. Instead, he sent a polite message. "Thank you, but I've found someone who makes my world feel whole. I wish you the same happiness." Months passed, and things changed for Su Nian too. With Liu Yichen's quiet support, she started her own nonprofit, focused on providing educational resources and clean energy to rural schools. She didn't ask for much. No headlines, no awards. She just wanted to make life a little better. For the children who grew up like she did, their relationship wasn't always easy. They fought, like all couples do, over values, time, sometimes even fear. But at the end of every argument, they chose each other, again and again, because love wasn't about coming from the same world. It was about building a new one together. Years later, as they walked through the boutique where they had first met, now turned into a small art gallery, Liu Yichen pointed to the corner where she had stood, looking lost in front of all the glitter. "Right there," he smiled, holding her hand. "That's where everything changed." Su Nian looked up at him, her eyes full of peace. "No, everything changed when you saw me and didn't look away." And maybe that's what the story was really about. Not just a CEO falling for a country girl, but about two souls seeing past the Polish, the class, the expectations, and simply choosing love. It was about how true connection doesn't ask for permission. It just happens. Unexpected, honest, real. And in the end, it wasn't her simplicity or his status that mattered. It was the way they stood by each other, even when the world didn't understand. Even when it would have been easier to walk away. Because love like that, it's rare. But when it finds you, you hold on and you never let go.